long will you play Captain Marvel for?
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
Don't be so modest.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and what a weird weekend. Anyway, special video kind of out of context now. For a behind the scenes look, I've uploaded. I upload in advance. I think you guys know that. I record in advance. I upload in advance. So I've actually got the videos going almost to the end of September. Already uploaded, already scheduled. They're already there. Now, several of you have told me, and you're correct, by the way, that doing so hurts me in the YouTube algorithm. They don't like people doing that. They like the more, and so some people will upload at the last possible second. That helps. Probably true. I don't really care about the YouTube algorithm, and I'm all right. In fact, I keep doing things to stop the growth of the channel, in addition to just being myself, and it doesn't seem to work. Channel keeps growing nicely. I see that we passed 34,000, so thank you very much for that. But seriously, why don't you people go away? No, I'm joking about that part. Anyway, so I'm sitting here. I've got a nice glass of scotch. Now, this glass of scotch, I think it's a 20-year-old. So it's a nice one. And I'll give you a little tip. A lot of people get really, really snobby about whiskey and scotch. And they'll talk about, I've got this age, this certain expensive bottle of scotch. Generally speaking, and there are exceptions, and definitely the exceptions are amazing. If you're getting something between 12 and 25 years, it's probably going to taste about the same to you. I know that's heresy, and really good scotch drinkers will be able to tell the difference between these drinks, but the financial difference between what I just described can be, thousands of dollars in some cases. So if you can't really tell the difference, don't spend $1,000. Get something, go head to Costco, get something like Kirkland Signature, good 12-year-old scotch. It's going to be, $400 less than what you'd get other places, and you won't notice. Is the God's honest truth, unless you've got a really refined palate, in which case you're not listening to my advice anyway. So I thought this glass of scotch would be helpful as I go through what was a weird flurry of activity. And thankfully, I think YouTube hid or blocked some of it, but I'll give you the kind of recap. So I posted a bit on Lord of the Rings. Now, I know Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power has been a highly sensitive issue. People have been speculating about that for what feels like well over a year. Is it going to be a dumpster fire? No, it's not. It's going to be, a new era in the world of diversity and inclusion. No, it's going to be raping Tolkien's legacy. It's been going around in a circle. I had a theory, and I mentioned this a couple times on the channel like months ago, that when all was said and done, the show would be pretty generic fantasy fare. What I didn't realize, because I said I watched the first 2 episodes. When I record that video, I'd watch 2. Now I've seen 3. I think I may be out with 3. I think I'm done, because 3 was a bore. And for me, it's not that I'm offended by what's there. Like I've said, I've been honest with you. It's been weird for me. The reaction I got was super hostile, and we'll get to that. But one of the weird ones is people who are like, well, you just don't understand because you don't understand Tolkien. And you're correct. I said that. I've said that many times. I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. Now, that doesn't mean that, for people who are, that you're silly or you shouldn't respect what you love. Of course you should. But I'm not one of those people. It's not that I don't respect it. I don't understand it. I've always tried to be very straightforward with that. I don't have that affinity to it. So I'm letting you know my bias going in. A lot of people won't do that, by the way. They're going to bullshit you all along the way about what they know, what they don't know. I'll tell you right off the bat, it's never been a big deal to me. So, if it is a big deal to you, I get why you're upset. I get why you're more upset that they're breaking the lore. I don't have that bias. So for me, when I watch this show, the thing I'm most struck with is it's boring. Full stop. It's boring. It's actually, as a fantasy show, it actually does a number of things wrong. If I'm doing a clear review of it, it's simultaneously dull. Nothing really happens, and also glossy. It's like the characters are made up. There's a lot of makeup. There's a lot of glimmer in this show. And so if you're trying to do Middle Earth and the characters all look kind of primped, I mean, even the Hobbit, the Harfoots or whatever, the Hobbit ancestors, I guess, they're too, they're supposed to be kind of traveling nomads and everything else, and they're supposed to be kind of dirty and, hill people, but they're not. They're all they're glammed up. I mean, it looks very pretty. They clearly spent a lot of money into it, but it's too glossy. It's like Twilight for for hobbits. It's strange. But most importantly, it's dull. And the main drive of there may be a sinister force and evil things may be happening somewhere. There's a creeping sense of dread. And this the sister of a man who was killed by the evil is out on a quest, and maybe she's gone a little too far. I don't know, but she's still on it. And it's like everybody's telling her to stop, but it's boring. And my takeaway there, my theory here, is that Amazon really has not been successful as a streaming service, which is a fact. If you look at the rankings, they have struggled to hit Apple TV, which is the one that struggles the most. HBO Max, Netflix, even Hulu has done better financially, Disney Plus, than Amazon. Amazon trying to get in the game. Now they have The Boys and then they have Invincible, but they just don't have the slam dunk that Amazon trying to be a worldwide media brand wants. So my feeling here is that they overpaid to get the Lord of the Rings license. When they get the Lord of the Rings license and they pay for it and they're into it, they get to do what they want. They paid the money, so they get to do what they want. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be good. But I'm noticing a lot of people are responding to me saying, well, how would you feel if somebody took something you loved and raped it? I'm like, well, okay, so that's a little bit far. Okay. But I mean, bad. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't fund it. I wouldn't support it, but I would have to acknowledge something that, they bought it. They bought this license. They're running with it. So I think it's, but my theory is they wanted to do some kind of fantasy show and they kind of had a general plot or idea lined up. And they're like, well, shit, we're Amazon. We need a brand to put on it. Can we get Lord of the Rings? And they bid and overpaid. And so they slapped the Lord of the Rings brand on this kind of generic fantasy thing they wanted to do. That's how it feels. It doesn't feel like anything more or less than that. And then so it's hard for me to get emotionally invested, pro or con, in this thing there. When one, I don't really know about Lord of the Rings or care, and two, I don't think they care. I think they're just trying to make some attention and name and money for themselves. And more power to them if they want to do that. But none of this feels like a work of passion. That's I guess my point. Now I know you, the viewer, the person listening to this, may be steamed up, angry because you have passion for it, and that's fine. But that this thing feels and reads like they don't. So, but what do I know? I'm just some guy. No, wait, hang on. That's a different channel. I've heard. Somebody pointed out you should go to Just Some Guy. He really lays out where they've kind of violated Tolkien lore, and so I went to the video and I listened to it. And I mean, he makes good points. Sure, but this thing is boring. The show is boring. It's not exciting. It looks weird and wrong. And I don't know. I mean, are they violating kind of the ancestry of the hobbits and the fact the hobbits were this type of people and the Harfoots are supposed to be something else and they've gone a different direction? And it's not what Tolkien, intended. I mean, sure, but the show is boring. I mean, it feels to me like, yeah, the lore and the diligence to be like Lord of the Rings is important, but they failed at the first thing, which is it's not entertaining. It's not exciting. So, I mean, I don't know, kind of all that to me is the crux. That's a platform. If you fall apart there, it really doesn't matter what you do on top of it. It sucks. At any rate, so I did the video, and in it, my theory was that part of the angst and part of the problem in all this was that the showrunners, the directors, some of the people involved in the show, they went hard right out the gate with how modern, that it's going to reflect current modern politics and themes. It's going to be diverse and inclusive. It's going to change the lore to a better world. They did a lot of things that I think in their heads were, this will reach out and appeal to our core Amazon demographic being, at least from the last numbers that they published, tends to be more left-leaning, tends to be more suburban housewife, people who might not be into fantasy, but are into things like, what's Barack and Michelle Obama doing? That is the Amazon Prime demographic. And if you don't believe me, this isn't me speculating, by the way. Amazon publishes this. That's what Amazon believes their core buying audience is. So basically, wealthy-ish, middle class, upper, white liberals who, order too much stuff on Amazon rather than going out into the real world and shopping. That tends to, that for whatever reason, that's what Amazon believes their core is. So in that light, I think it makes sense that they would reach out and they'd want to do a lot of stuff saying, hey, this isn't just nerdy fantasy stuff. I mean, I know you remember all those geeks you used to laugh at in high school? Maybe you're one of those, but still, those people are geeks, and then they're nerdy, and that's what J.R. Tolkien, smelly guys in their parents' basement, and this is different. It's our world. It's more reflective of our world. It's taking into account contemporary things, and it's going to show a blend of races and genders and all. That to me feels like what was in their mind. I think that's what they thought. This is the audience we're going to appeal to. But here's the problem. That audience, they don't get tricked easy. Nobody really gets tricked easy with this kind of stuff. If you go to a bunch of punk rock and metal fans and you go, oh man, the new Chili's, Chili's restaurant, it's hardcore, totally metal now. That barbecue sauce is extreme with 3 X's. It's totally metal. You should come eat at Chili's. Metal fans are, everybody sees through that. And my feeling is that the audience that Amazon kind of wanted for this show goes, oh, that sounds nice. I'm really proud of you. Good for you. Diversity and inclusion. That's great. You're doing all that stuff. Cool. I'm not watching any kind of, lame fantasy shit with elves, but I'm proud of you. Good for you. Which, by the way, as a side note, feels like how comic books work too. There's like a lot of people on Twitter are like, hey, look what we're doing. We're doing this. And this powerful female character is leading the Avengers. And that's really cool. She's the most popular thing in the world. And the audience that would go for that, that would be a perfectly good marketing strategy. Great to do if it worked. But the problem is, I think the audience that goes for that goes, oh, that's great. I'm proud of you. Good for you. I'm giving that thing a Twitter like. I like it. I'm definitely not buying a comic book. You think I'm some kind of dork? No. But, good for you. I'm proud of you. And it feels like generally the world's in this cycle where people are they're trying to appeal to the audiences they don't have, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I think there's lots of examples. This is not just left, right wing leaning stuff. It's all over the place. I use that example of Chili's kind of as a joke, but Applebee's did something similar to that, where it's like, we're the blue collar Applebee's where you can come in and listen to Metallica. It's like, fuck off. Nobody's going to Applebee's to listen to Metallica. Anyway, this stuff doesn't terribly work. So anyway, they did this, and they did so much of it that it feels like people really, really got, it just had that natural counter effect. And in particular, it offended the hardcore fans of J.R. Tolkien stuff, where like, if you're going to do something with Tolkien's name on it, we would prefer it to be like Tolkien. So, that, to me, the whole thing is kind of just silly, all in general, because you had an audience, you decide to appeal to a different audience. It was unlikely to come in and do what you want. The product that you actually have reflected neither of those things. It's funny, the product that actually comes out, the show you can actually watch, it doesn't appeal to the Tolkien fans. It doesn't appeal to the the group that Amazon was trying to. It appeals to neither of these people because it's dull. What have you done? At any rate, so I done my review. I posted this video, and the thing I did not anticipate, and I should be smarter about this, is just holy shit, the responses. And just an amazing amount of responses. And when I say responses, I mean ugly ones. I have never seen so many, comments banned by YouTube for the N-word. There was a lot. And and then the aftermath of that, I said, oh my God, I kind of throw up my hands a little bit at it. And people were like, well, it's clearly all bots. Well, I'm sure some of them were. I'm sure some were. Is it possible that there's a false flag operation where, Amazon hires people to deliberately say racist, terrible things so they can then point at it? Sure. Could be. It's happened. These things have happened before. There's definitely that cross marketing stuff. It's always dangerous to do that. I think it's destructive to do that, but it has happened. But there were other names that I definitely recognize. People who posted here before. I know a bigger YouTuber kind of pointed at my video, calling it a really horrible take, and sent a bunch of their fans after it. But my God, I'm sorry. Just what the fuck's wrong with you? That I get that you're angry, It was funny. I mean, people made comments like, Perch, you don't get it. People are angry. You know, you don't you understand people are angry at this? I mean, sure. I get it. Yeah. But that is stupid to go onto a YouTube channel and throw around the N-word because you're angry that a giant faceless corporation paid a shitload of money to buy the rights to a property you once enjoyed and then screwed it over. I get how that's aggravating. Totally get how it's frustrating. Doesn't mean you get to come on and start screaming racist shit around at people. That's crazy. That is full stop crazy. But anyway, what a bizarre little encapsulation of how screwed up everything is. And it really does feel it. And all for what? For a boring, dumbass show. And again, people reminded me over and over and over and over. One jackass, and sorry, I you are a jackass, was like, well, I only listened to a minute in the video, and I can already tell, Perch, you don't know what you're talking about, and this is why you're completely wrong. And then proceeded to argue with me about something they didn't even listen to. And fuck. What's wrong with you? All of this is crazy, but I am amazed. I shouldn't be at this point, but I am amazed by the crazy stuff. I don't even know what the hell. So crazy. So how was your weekend? No, what a boring ass show. It's a boring show. Look, I mean, She-Hulk at times is this weird mess where it's trying to be John Byrne's run, but also trying to modernize. And it sometimes kind of feels like it goes together and sometimes feels like it absolutely does not. But I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, cool. Look, guys, I think we can have it both ways. Meaning, I think that you can be very passionate about something, love the fandom, be committed, and care about properties you care about, whether they're comics, whether they're Lord of the Rings. You invested time into this. I get that. I'm sympathetic to that. You put some of your life into this thing. Good for you. I think you can hold those things dear. I think you can be protective when people go and screw them over. I think all that stuff is true. But don't lose your perspective. These are giant multinational corporations playing with your properties. And no matter how angry you are, no matter how fair or unfair it feels, they own it. And if they're going to screw it over, certainly express your displeasure. Consistently, I've always said you should do that. I don't think you should shut up. But don't lose yourself in that process. If you find yourself on a YouTube video throwing out the N-word because you're angry about, what Amazon did to Lord of the Rings, you've tipped over. A lot of us are comic book fans. You don't find yourself being Doctor Doom one day. It doesn't matter. And if you take delight in destroying somebody else. And by the way, it was all sides. There was somebody, there was a different person, different channel on here who seemed to just be gleeful about the angry fans. Like, look at all these losers being angry about Lord of the Rings. Look at all these losers insulting you, Perch. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Oh, my God. Ah, ha. Come on. For what? For a boring-ass show. I don't know. I've seen ads in freemium games on my mobile phone that held my interest more than that show. Especially episode 3. Episode 3 is just garbage. Anyway, hope you had a good weekend. Relaxed. Thanks for listening.
A look of elderly bloodlust spread across her wrinkled face, and it made me dare to think perhaps this was no accident. Perchance she was compelled to steer her beige battering ram into the house that Beef built, driven not by force of this earth, but of an earth below. An earth that mirrors ours in almost every way, except the reflections are so much darker that many miles down. Some know the reflected realm to be the netherworld. Others know it as the abyss. I know it as the shadow zone. A world where the blackness of our sin stares back at us and merely laughs. Ha 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 ha. A world where God's law governs no man. A world world where there is no literal or figurative Mr. Belvedere given any authority to teach us right from wrong. A world where we are loosed and given leathery wings charred like brisket to soar high above the judgment of the well-pressed, dry-clean, shift-managing elite. A world where I am elevated to my true pagan animal form and I take flight, known only as the winged demon, Dead Dreadmore. And I fly high above the puritanical regime, anointed by the oil of our beast lord, singing, I'm the king of the castle, and you're the dirty rascal. Crash into me, crash into me. I don't know. Arby's is pretty cool.